This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. The Chronicles of Filth continue. This episode features a conversation with James McIlroy. He was the group's guitarist, Cradle of Filth's guitarist, from around 2004 to 2012. Now, the reason I thought it was interesting to get James onto the show is because I felt that he had some insight to offer. Of course, he has something to say about his tenure in the group, but he was actually the guitarist alongside of Paul Allender. And he's the first of the post-2000 members that I've reached out and asked if he's interested in appearing on the show. Of course, he said yes. The other people, Lindsay and Richard, I think, are the only other two. They were all part of an interview cycle, so promotional or tour, that sort of thing. But in James's case, I'm genuinely curious to hear what he has to say about his tenure in the group, and that's why he has earned a Guernsey on the Chronicles of Filth. I won't go into a heap of detail here in the introduction about what we talk about because all shall be revealed. Needless to say, I enjoy his company a lot. He's a fantastic fella. If I had the time available, we could easily have spoken for well over the 2 hours we did. And on that point, we may have some plans in the future to revisit the conversation or do something else. We shall see. Anyway, here he is, James McIlroy.
Oh, geez, you start recording already.
Mate, something's got to be done, hasn't it? Right from the get-go, you know?
Yeah,
Premiere event.
Premiere event, come on.
Mate, you'll be surprised. There are tons of people out there that are looking forward to hearing from you. Believe me, I must confess my interest in Cradle of Filth, it ended when Stuart left the band. I got to know Paul after the fact, but it turns out you're the one guy in that post-Stuart epoch that people are quite fond of, okay? And it could be Sarah.
Is it my good looks and natural charm?
It's got to be that, your youthful enthusiasm and vigor.
Edit that shit out to normal, quite self-depreciating.
It's your youthful enthusiasm and vigor, brother. Come on, you know you've got it in space. You know you've got it right here. You know, and but people, I've had a few requests for it. Let's face it, and it hasn't happened for any of the, when I say the newer members, it hasn't happened for anybody else. So there you go.
No, maybe it's the air of mystery because I've never really given interviews, or never been asked. I think more is the case,
and that is a very common theme across the band, which is most unusual because I'm a journalist and an author, and there aren't that many stories out there in extreme metal, I must say. But there is one here with Cradle of Filth because the group has well over something in the vicinity of 30 tenured members, and far, far more if you include studio guests and people that have done tours.
I think I remember sitting in a pub and back in 2003, 2004, I think they could all count well over 30 by that point. And that was 20 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. And it's
almost like a Pokemon card collection, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there's people like me of my vintage. I'm 45, so I was into Gen 2 black metal. Certainly not when it first came out in 1990 or 91 being in Australia. It was impossible. You know, we got things, years after the fact in some cases. But 92, thereabouts, Immortal, those sorts of bands there. And then I heard Cradle with Dusk and Her Embrace, which is when I think just about everybody in Australia would have got to the band unless you were really, one of the cult black metal aficionados who really knew what was going on. And it just seemed like the group was going to take over the world for a period of time there, and it just came crashing apart at some point. And they became just another band with a revolving door of band members. And it was quite sad, really, because those who were there back in the 90s, we know that metal was it wasn't popular. It wasn't really going anywhere. And there were a couple of bands like Cradle of Filth that spearheaded the revolution.
Yeah, no, I remember the 90s metal just really was not cool. I was walking around, like everyone's into grunge and stuff like that, and I sat there with my jeans jacket with my Iron Maiden patches on it, Megadeth, and all that kind of stuff. And no one was into that stuff. It was like, it was just not even in metal is not cool to be into like glam metal either. And I loved that shit. I mean, that's what I started on. So, and that stuff was amazing. So, like, mid 90s, end of the 90s, running around. You'd be into like, all the general 90s bands, like trying to avoid new, like, was it Sepulturas before they kind of imploded as well?
Yeah, that's like, there's another one.
Like Paradise Lost stuff. One of my favorite bands for so long. Oh, Megadeth, all that fresh stuff, all that 90s. There's a really rich ground for like bands, but no one was into it. It was just not cool at all. And, if you then went around saying, I love Skid Row, people just look at you and go like, you what? Are you serious? And go like, yeah, man, I love Skid Row, all the Motley Crue and stuff like that. And that was definitely not cool. But yeah, no, I know what you mean about Cradle. They were like, around Cruelty, like they were definitely like the poster boys. They were like every single magazine and stuff like that. So, yeah.
They were huge for a period of time there with the fans, and also they became media darlings, and that might allude to some of their success. But I want to talk about you, though. Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about you and your tenure. But why don't we start with what you're doing now, then, and then we'll ease into Cradle of Filth again, because I know you got a group I know you got a group these days called Summon the Wolves. So can you tell us what's going on there?
So this is years and years ago. So it's like I had my neck operated on because apparently I'd been running around for like, 12 years, swinging my head about with a broken neck, which I literally broke on my third gig with Cradle. You couldn't make that shit up. And I literally just obliterated discs on my neck and then spent the next 12 years not realizing I had. And so shortly after that operation, I just I kind of got like inspired to like starting writing a couple of things. And I tried starting up a project with some people I knew, but I didn't really go anywhere. And over the next couple of years, I just wrote bits here and there. And then I think during the pandemic, when I kind of moved country halfway through, because, I'm stupid like that. And
where'd you move to?
I moved to Belgium. So, because that's where I grew up. And I think I just had enough of England at that point. And so I just needed a fresh start. And I came over here and I kind of got in contact with people I just used to know when I was young, and they'd gone off and done all their own things. They'd played in their bands. They're like medium successful, like pretty well known in Belgium and stuff like that. And I I really just wanted to have that joy of being in a band where when it's fun, they're all your mates, and you all get on, and there's no weird stuff going on. So I dug up all this stuff I'd lying around and started writing some new stuff, and that turned into Summon the Wolves. So that's basically it's kind of whatever comes out more than sticking to a style, because I don't really believe that anyone should start a band and go. I mean, the death knell for any band for me is when they go, we're going to start a black metal band like Immortal. And at that point, you've pretty much already completely lost it, because no one wants another Immortal. There's one Immortal and they're really cool. And if you're going to be Immortal, you're never going to be Immortal because your influence is Immortal. So you're never going to sound like them. It's one of those true things. You're never going to sound like the bands you idolize because you don't have the same influences. So you just don't bother. You just have to be yourself. And with the Summon the Wolf stuff, this is myself and the other guys in the band. So I'll just have like a template of a song, and we'll just go in and just like, how it used to be when you had fun. You take it into a room, you work on it, and then you just let everyone kind of do their own thing, and then it will sound like a band, as opposed to like a one-man recording project. I mean, there's no point being a little Hitler and going, everyone has to do exactly what I tell them to, because that takes the fun out of it. And there's no point. So everyone contributes, write bits here and there, and more as time goes on. And you start with a template, and then you just let it evolve. which is what all good bands do. So that was the kind of the thing from the outset, just to have fun and not really care too much, and then see what comes out. And hopefully, mate, it's good. So, so it started that up, and, the whole pandemic did kind of put little sticks, obstacles in the way, shall we say. Like, you can't get together, you can't rehearse. It's like a bit harder to get everyone together and find members and stuff like that. But eventually it's all been done. And as it stands now, we're just having a quick look at a few studios to start basically tracking an entire album, say, I think about November. And then we have that at the beginning of next year. So that'll be really cool.
So brand new band, it's majority your material with generous contributions from the other members as well, and your debut's on the horizon.
That's pretty much a summary in way less words than I just used. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. And what are your ambitions for it? Do you hope it tours and you can take it abroad?
I'd love to take it abroad and stuff like that. I'd love to. I mean, I just love playing live. That's one of the things I've always really, really enjoyed. So, playing live, go to a few countries, see some stuff, and just generally have fun. I mean, I'm pretty realistic. I'm not going to say like, we're going to be the biggest thing ever, because, it's whatever happens, really. That's the kind of thing. And I think more than anything, I kind of hope that people just enjoy it, because that's why we kind of make music as part of it, because of our own artistic expression and part of it, because we just really like entertaining people. And we like when people go like, that song was really cool. I listened to that, and, this is what it meant to me. Go like, wow, that's, I pretty much have always said, if you could make one guy pick up guitar or one girl, then you've already done your job, like more than you ever thought you would as a kid. And you've started someone else's like path to whatever their dream is up. And that's one of the coolest things ever, just like to realize you've inspired people. It's really humbling, by the way. It's not like one of those things that you take for granted. It's like, I still find it humbling when someone says, I just started to play guitar because I heard this. And you go like, wow, because I'm not Kirk Hammett. I'm not Dave Mustaine. Those are the guys that made me want to pick. Well, actually, no, it's not. That's a lie. What made me want to pick up a guitar was actually Steve Harris, and I wanted to play bass because he wrote all the songs. So therefore, I thought, like, no, it must be really important playing bass because they write all the songs. And I'm like, I can see you starting to smirk there.
I'm a bassist, so I've got guitarists behind me here, but I'm a bassist, so I love Steve. Yeah.
And I mean, bass playing is such an art form, and I bet I would have loved it. But my friend started playing bass, and I thought, I can't copy him, can I? So I started playing guitar. But yeah, so I'm no Steve Harris, I'm no Dave Mustaine, I'm no Kirk Hammett, I'm no Greg McIntosh, Zach Wilde, Trey Azaptoff, all the guys that I really loved growing up. So I find it extremely humbling when someone says that I might have actually had some influence on them. It's still one of those weird things, but it's cool.
Yeah. Are you living high off the luxury of Cradle royalties, or have you still got to have a day job and everything else at the same time?
I've got a day job. Come on. Let's be serious.
That's a loaded question. Don't worry for something I'll ask you later.
It's a loaded. Well, it might be a loaded question, but come on. If you get into doing music thinking you're going to strike it rich, then you're either extremely confident or, delusional. I mean, you just do this because you love it. That's the only reason. And the only reason I've ever done this is because it's made me happy. When it's not made me happy, I've just not done it. So, I mean, when I've got some of the Wolves, I also, playing because I decided I needed more live experience and I hadn't played guitar for quite a while. So I joined another band called Morbid, which actually has a weird Cradle collection because I think Adrian drummed on their first album.
Oh, there you go.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, no. So no, I've got a day job just like everyone else.
Everybody else, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I've got to keep myself in guitars and amps somehow, and music ain't going to buy all the fun guitars that I love collecting and buying, and yeah. Just say no.
I can relate. Don't worry. Yeah, you got an awesome collection there behind you.
Yeah, there's a few missing. There's a few downstairs in the basement being worked on. There's a few in cases which I don't take out because they're just too nice, and they turn out to be rare and stuff like that. So I've got a couple of guitars I kind of use just for recording, but then they just live in the case so I don't, accidentally drop them from a great height or just do something utterly stupid to them. Because I've done this before. I've had one of these dream guitars and you get it and you're like, oh man, it's got no chips. This is awesome. You put it on the rack so you can see it all the time. And then something falls off a shelf, and of the 10 guitars of the day, it has to hit the one. It has to chip the one that's completely perfect that you spent ages trying to find. So I've learned my lesson quite a few times on that one. So they now just live in cases, and I just pick them out and play them every so often. And when I want to record for some of them, I just use them.
Or if you've got kids and the rare one or the interesting one or the one you don't want them to touch is the one that they really, really do want to touch, and they put biscuit and crayon and stuff all over it. I can tell you that's happened a few times. I've learned just keep them away and bring them out. I mean, my kids are a bit older now; they're 8 and 10. But when they were juniors, my God, anything that I had out that was valuable or important in this room here, it tended to be. As soon as you say no, don't touch it. That's yes, I want that. That's what I want. Yeah. So let's talk about Cradle, okay? Because you. This is what my understanding is, and diving into Encyclopedia Battalion. So you played and toured behind Nymphetamine in 2004. You left around Thornography in 2006 and Godspeed of the Devil's Thunder. They were released in your absence, but then you came back for an album called Darkly, Darkly, Venus Aversa, I think it is, and the Evermore Darkly EP in 2011. And then you left before the Manticore and Other Horrors in 2012. So it's tour. Is that right?
That's not quite right.
There you go.
I think I literally would have made my live debut with Cradle at the end of 2002 if things had gone to plan. Because I think they were in the studio and I'd been auditioning, and that's an entirely different story. But I had like some gigs planned for the end of 2002, like a UK mini tour that I was supposed to be on, and that got cancelled. So that didn't happen. So the next thing, that the first time I actually appeared with Cradle was when they did Russia, I think, in either February or March of 2003. And so I toured on the back of the Damnation album, all the European tour, Ozfest, US tours, and then, was on Nymphetamine, did all the Nymphetamine tours, then left. And then I think at the end of Godspeed, I came back, did the Darkly Versa thing, and then I toured for Manticore as well. And then after that, left and had neck surgery. So been there and about. It's a bit longer than whatever Wikipedia says. Yeah. But that's kind of the long part of it.
But you were going to come back after the surgery? Is that the plan?
I don't know, to be honest. The surgery was really weird. I mean, I'd spent, looking back at it now, I'd have like about 10, 12 years where I'd drop plectrums for no reason. I'd just drop things out of my right hand. Like all this time from after I played the first gig on the European tour in 2003, when I literally felt my entire back just go in the first 5 seconds of the first song. And it was like I remember when I came off stage, my back was literally like, it felt like a cauldron. Like, if you can imagine your flesh just bubbling. It sounds like a death metal song, really, doesn't it? Like bubbling flesh.
My spine is broken and my flesh is bubbling.
Bubbling with the flesh of the deceased. And so I've been dropping things all over the place. I mean, like some days you'd find like everything's on fire with your right hand. Other days it's like really weird. And so, I didn't know I had nerve damage and stuff like that. So I went in for this surgery, and I think the first one, when I was supposed to go in, just didn't feel all right. So I just went, nah, I'm not doing this. And then I went for the same surgery, but slightly different. A couple of months later, went through with that. And when I woke up, I literally, like, the strength of my right hand just increased by like 200%. It was really weird. Like totally weird. But then after that, they go like, you can't headbang. You've got to wait until your neck's healed. That's going to take like, oh God, a year or 2 years at least, while all the bone grows together through the titanium cage you just had screwed into your neck. And then, as with Cradle, they had a tour and I just couldn't do it. So they got some other guys in, and then, because I couldn't, after that, you just can't commit to, like, when am I going to be better? It's going to take a while. I mean, it's literally, I think, for about 3-4 months afterwards, I was still kind of recovering in quite a few ways. So yeah, and I've got other guys, and then just move on. So, but I'm not bitter. I think you'll probably find that there's people who might play in the band that maybe are bitter about stuff or something like that. But in my case, nah, because I literally got to do everything that I ever thought I might do, like you dream as a kid, and then some more on top of that. So
yeah,
I ain't got nothing to complain about.
You're the first of the post-2000 members that I've spoken to, so this is why it's interesting and why it's why gaining your insight will be very unique. But yeah, no, you're not wrong. I've spoken to. It's probably easier for me to say who I haven't spoken to, which is down to Les Smith, Sarah, who I am communicating with, and I am very hopeful at some point she'll come onto the show. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And but yeah, Stuart, Nick, the Ryan brothers, that you name it. I've spoken to all of them, and it's certainly the Ryan brothers are a bit more circumspect because it's 35 years ago now for them. But for Stuart and for Nick, it's a bit of a different story. I think it's fair to say they were integral in that era that we were both talking about up top there. And there were some things that were out there that were put out there into the media, and fans were none the wiser until they'd spoken the truth about things when we had conversations and set the record straight about what happened in the band when they were in it. But those conversations have been out there for some time. But yeah, they weren't happy. There's no question about that. And I think it's pretty sad from the Stuart perspective because he's no longer with us, and there was the Cruelty re-release thing and all the rest of it. So Danny certainly is the master and commander of that ship, and what he says goes these days, as I'm sure you're aware. So your catalyst for leaving was the medical event, and you weren't invited back in, or you weren't invited to say, let's just see how it goes, and whenever you're ready, give us a call and we'll see how things are.
No, but I think it's one of those things where you kind of see sometimes bands just move on, and I wasn't exactly, forthcoming, like, when can I come back? When can I come back and stuff like that. So I think also maybe for me is also run its course a little bit, because as I've said, I mean, I'll only do something if I'm happy with it. I see absolutely zero point in just being in a band just to be in a band because it's a well-known band. And yeah. And the other thing I found is like, sometimes it's just not the same anymore because, when I joined the band, there was Adrian, there's Martin, Paul, Dave, Sarah, all those people. And, as people change in the band, sometimes you come to the conclusion that it doesn't feel the same as it did before. And at that point you're going, it's like, well, I mean, I could go like, yeah, take you back and stuff like that. But then you go like, well, I don't know half the guys in the band now. There's like I know Dan, but that's kind of it. And you also have to ask yourself, do I have something to say musically at this point? Is it like, am I going to be able to write a Cradle album? Because there's a very specific mindset to write a Cradle album. You're very, very boxed into what fans expect. You can't just, go like, I'm just going to throw a whole bunch of these weird riffs on it because people go like, what the fuck is this? What are you doing? It's kind of like, you don't want to be it's just that experimental that you write the album that everybody hates. Like everybody thinks is utter complete trash and stuff like that. So it's a very specific mindset. It's a very specific style, as you were. And I think it's like one of the things I do think a lot of bands struggle with, unless they, as where you just inject fresh blood and fresh people, is that you struggle to kind of reinvent yourself within the parameters of who your fans expect you to be, if that kind of makes sense. And in a lot of things, this comes back to, when I said at the beginning, it's like, if you start a band and say, I'm going to sound like Immortal, like I don't envy anyone in Cradle having to make a Cradle album, because that's like the same thing. It's like saying we're going to start a band that sounds like Cradle of Filth. We don't have the same influences as the people that were in the band in the 90s or the beginning of the 2000s or 2010s, because we're not the same people. And you have that pressure to sound like those same people. Like, personally, I always felt like Stuart and John wrote amazing riffs and stuff like that. And I always they were so cool. Like Fifth Empire is one of my favorite EPs by Cradle. I mean, you might surprise you, but I'm not that into Dusk. It was all about Fifth Empire and Cruelty and the Beast for me. Those two releases for me are like, wow, they're amazing and stuff like that. And then, Paul Allender, he wrote some amazing riffs, and after a while, you kind of like get his style as well and stuff like that. But if I were, say, completely never having played in Cradle, if they went like, oh, go play in Cradle now, I do think I'd actually struggle to write a Cradle album that I think a fan expects to hear, because I just don't have the same influences as those guys, especially not if I wasn't even born when the Principle came out or something like that, which, could technically happen these days, because I'm not young. And I was pretty young when I was in the band compared to the rest. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. I get the impression, just based on, there's certainly two audiences. There's people of my vintage era who are interested in the band in the 90s who sort of stopped when Midian came out. There's a bunch of us that are around about that. We feel that the new wave of British heavy metal influence was really important, and that sort of went away when Stuart left. And then there's the heavy metal fans that sort of feel as though Cradle of Filth are more entwined with the broader heavy metal explosion that happened after 2000. And there are some people out there that I've noticed who don't even really pay that much attention to what happened in the 90s, which to the young fan in me, to the 17 and 18-year-old in me, is virtually inconceivable. But it's a question that I've wanted to ask you for some time, actually. Okay. Given you were the other guitarist in the group with Paul, your understanding of the group's history, do you feel as though it's fair to say, and it's a big statement, I know, but I'm going to say it anyway, no Paul Allender, no Cradle of Filth?
I know Paul, so I still speak to him. So I think I'm going to answer it this way. It's like, Paul was there at the beginning of the Paul Ryans and everyone else. And so you cannot deny that Principle of Evil Made Flesh is a breakthrough album, and that's got Paul written all over it, as does Dust Covered Embrace. If you look at those riffs, that's just Paul's riffing, just all there. But if you then look at Cruelty, that's all Stuart and Gian. If you then look at, Midian after that, that's all Gian and Paul. So if you just come out with a sweeping statement saying Paul Allender is Cradle of Filth, yeah, he's a lot to do with Cradle of Filth. He carried the band right through, I think, the end of the 90s to the point where he left as well. He was instrumental. He was there in the beginning. But you just cannot. I don't think you can say one person is Cradle of Filth. I think part of their strength, especially during the 90s and stuff like that, was that they did have those different writing styles come in, but still kept kind of the same vibe to it. I mean, you could also say, without Les, Cruelty wouldn't have sounded the same, because his keyboard parts are just awesome. So without Stuart and Gian, Cruelty wouldn't have sounded the same. You wouldn't have had that album. You can also say, without Paul, you wouldn't have had Dusk and Embrace. You wouldn't have had the same. In fact, you can kind of say it's like all these albums that people are just like, love listening to, and it was evolving. So I don't think you can really say one person is Cradle of Filth when it comes to the music. But I do think that all the people that I mentioned, like Paul, Stuart, Gian, they all definitely had their own stamp on the music, kind of like that. And I can't really comment on anything new Cradle-wise because I just haven't listened to it. I think you get to a stage where you've heard so many Cradle songs, and for me, I've played some of those songs so many times, and at the end of it, you go like, I just don't want to listen to it, and then because I've heard it so much that I've not really actually listened to much of stuff, but I do know they've done some cool stuff. People have told me like that's kind of has a vibe to it, but it'll be I guess like you get with a lot of bands, it'll be a new chapter where you have fans that absolutely love it, and you get older fans that don't like it, and then you get new fans that do. So it's the same with everything. Like, I mean, I don't think anything Maiden did after Seventh Son was particularly great, but some people think Brave New World is awesome. But I
agree with you 100% on that point. There, I
think it's okay, and I was really excited at the time. But I think it's one of those classic albums where everyone goes, "That's amazing albums," because two before weren't that great. You know, kind of like Death Magnetic from Metallica, which everyone would have panned and completely said it's like this is not very good at all. If they hadn't have released St. Anger. Now I have a weird theory that they recorded Death Magnetic first, realized it wasn't that good, then decided to make the one of the worst albums imaginable and mix it so terribly, bring it out, and then go like, you know, if you bring this out, we'll take the short-term pain, and then we'll bring out the next album, and everyone will think we're good again.
I agree. Totally. Everything you just said there about Metallica and Iron Maiden, I agree with completely. The whole, I don't know what on earth went on with Iron Maiden, but I'm with you. I even, when X Factor came out, I was like, oh, great new Maiden album. Even that absolute stinker Virtual 11, I got it as soon as you could get it here and listened to it for a couple of weeks and thought, wow, it's a new Maiden album and stuff. But in hindsight, it's not there. They lost it. And they kind of got it back when Kevin Shirley became the producer there. But I haven't listened to – I couldn't rate anything Maiden did outside of some of the songs on A Matter of Life and Death. I think the Benjamin Brieg track is one of their greatest ever, but that's it.
I actually haven't listened to really anything after Brave New World. I've seen they've bought out albums, but, you know, for someone who played – a couple of Maiden tapes to death as the first things he ever bought that were vaguely metal, and to be so obsessed with them as a kid to then just go like, I don't really care that much anymore. It's kind of weird. I mean, I guess your musical taste has evolved, but I do still like having the old Maiden tracks, and if they're played live, I will listen to them. But I remember seeing them at, I think, Grassport, I think it was last year or something like that. It was a local festival near here, and I walked away after 5 songs because I hadn't played anything I liked. Literally, they just played all new stuff, and I thought, this is just really pedestrian and boring, and I'm not into it. Someone just did watch some fun bands that were playing fun music that was cool. And it's a shame because I remember seeing them like 20 years when Bruce came back, the gigs there, and just being amazing, like traveling around, seeing a couple of things, but yeah, Brave New World wasn't there for me. And when the other thing is like, I think Blaze Bayley, for what he does, his style, he's a really good singer. He was just completely the wrong singer for Iron Maiden, completely the wrong singer. It wasn't the right vocal range, and he was never going to be Bruce Dickinson. So basically, I think he was cursed from the beginning.
I think you and I are cut from exactly the same cloth. So your views on things sound exactly like the way I speak, and I cop a lot of shit for it. But I couldn't care less. I'm not a fanboy. No. You like what you like, and you're prepared to express your opinion.
I mean, come on. Power Slave for me is like the ultimate album, and there's good reasons for that. It's because I used to have a CD player, and you could program, I think, like, what was it, 20 or 30 tracks on it, like to go off. And I think I must have driven my parents absolutely mental when I was a kid, because I just sit there at night and I put music on to go to sleep to. And I still love doing that now, because it's kind of weird. It's like metal lullabies, except you listen to death metal and all kinds of horrible shit. But just it's kind of calming, and it sends you to sleep and stuff like that. But on Power Slave, if you took the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and if you put that on as the one track along with Power Slave, because you get a 20-minute block for 2 songs, so you could literally get a good 4 hours of a CD player before it stopped, which must have been absolute torture. But yeah.
Yeah, I think on these topics we'd agree on most things. Yeah, but I want to ask you about Cradle again, because you did leave after a Thornography. What was the catalyst behind you leaving then?
I think it was literally a case of we just done a whole amphetamine thing, and writing for the new thing. Dave had gone, and Martin had gone at that point, and I think I just literally just sat there one day and went, I'm not happy. I mean, I'm not happy at all. So at that point, I just went, I can't, at the moment, I can't live off this. And I think it's like there was like some kind of weird discussion at the time. And I just went, you know what? Nah, I'm done. I just walked away and stuff like that. Then that was it. And Adrian left as well. So there was like the whole thing where I come back to where it's not the same people anymore. And yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. One of those things. So what are you going to do then? It's like, yeah, done. So I ran off. I think there's one riff on the album that I'm not credited for. It's phenomenal. But I wasn't that bothered, to be honest. And then I went off and started another band, decided to do something else and stuff like that. But I think there's one thing, if there's one thing in music that you always have to remember, it's like you have to be happy with what you're doing. You have to go like, I love this. Because as soon as you don't love it and you start writing music, people are going to hear that you don't love it and you're basically just doing it because you have to. And you can hear that in so many places. And I don't think that's fair. And it doesn't matter how big the band is. I mean, like how much adulation you're getting or whatever. If it comes a point where you sit there going, I'm not enjoying this, I'm not feeling it, then that whatever you're going to put out, the people listening to it aren't going to feel it either. And that's, I don't think, fair, because at the time people still paid for music. I mean, now I don't think anyone really cares because no one pays for music anymore, so you can do what the hell you want. But and for me, it's like if I'd have like so when you end up like touring and touring with bands and stuff like that, you see all this shit that you never used to see on TV and interviews where everyone's happy. Oh yeah, we're all getting along great. And then someone leaves because of like artistic differences. And then you basically learn that, that's all bullshit. That's like, there's a lot of bands that utterly hate each other and they're just together because they don't have anything else to do. They can't do anything else, but they absolutely loathe each other. They'll only see each other on stage, and you look at all this shit and kind of, wow, man. And then you get like some bands which is genuinely, you look at them and go like, they're always going to be kind of the same lineup, and they're a band, like they're a band. Like I think the first one that pops to mind is actually Killswitch Engage. Always look at them and go like, yeah, they're like a band, stuff like that. They really haven't changed members really much apart from swapping singers and a drummer, but that core of that, they're just them. And that's what you should be. And I think if you're not that, then you're it's kind of a lie, really. And that tension, I think, comes through in music that doesn't quite sit right. Because a band should always sound like greater than the sum of its parts. That's what makes great bands great. It's not the fact that you've picked the virtuoso kid number one, virtuoso kid number two, stuck them together with a drummer who was born with 8 arms, laughed at school, but is now the world's greatest sticksman. And you put them together that they're going to make great music, because this is not the case. And for a band, you really need to have that whole vibe where everything's firing on all cylinders, and you basically just, and that makes great albums, I find. Some people might say Strife makes great albums, but then bands implode after that. Once they make one good album, they just completely obliterate
common
together. But then you get bands that make great albums because they genuinely make great albums because that chemistry is there. So I found myself there going, I just wasn't happy at the end of that. And I think I need to step away. And I'd always told myself, this is really cool. It's really fun. It's like something that you never thought you'd do. So, enjoy it while you can. And if you're ever not happy, then just walk away. Because there's no point. Life's short enough. What's the point of making yourself miserable just because you want to be on a cover of a magazine, or you want someone to think you're famous and talk to you? That's absolutely pointless, because you get to the end of your life and you go what the hell did I do that for? It's I wasn't happy, and all this stuff, it was hollow. So I've never wanted to be in that position. And so, not happy, go do something else.
But you clearly made an impression, because I'm sure I'm right in saying this. You're the only, apart from Paul, your mate Paul, you're the only member that's been invited back.
Yeah, I was quite surprised about that as well. I was just sitting there, doing my day job, and I got a call from Dave. It's how'd you feel about doing a tour? And I was like, oh, okay. And at the time, the company I was working for, they'd done something stupid, and they were basically, not doing too well financially. So I thought, screw it, I'll take this little sabbatical and I'll go off and do these gigs and stuff like fun. And that was one of those weird things, because it was I'd seen Dave over the years, but I hadn't really seen anyone else, and I had new drummer and stuff like that. So I ended up I hadn't listened to any of the albums. I hadn't listened to any of the songs. I'd completely forgotten all the songs as well. So I had to go off and relearn them, and then sat down with Paul and just basically said, how'd you play all this kind of stuff, and go through it and learn it all. And I remember, I think the first gig was in Hamburg, and I think Moonspell on that tour as well. Moonspell and Cradle seem to tour quite a lot. It's like they're joining at the hip or something like that. I don't know if that's still the case, but at the time there were so many tours. I did a 2003 tour with them, then an amphetamine tour was with them, and then when the tour came back, that tour was with them as well. So they're awesome guys. And I remember just walking in, getting into Hamburg, I think was the first day to that European leg, and just putting on the same makeup that I hadn't put on for years. And I just remember Dave just looking at me, grinning, go it's back. And it's cool. And it was fun. And that was the whole thing. It was just totally fun again. And it's really enjoyable. It's I had a blast playing that tour, and just playing songs again and stuff like that, just being on stage. And then after that, I came to new albums. So I started writing with Paul, and that's how Darkly came about. And that was a fun album. That was a fun album to make. I guess it's kind of a forgotten album. I don't know if many people listen to it or what they thought about it and stuff like that, but I thought it was a really fun album. I think it's quite fast most of the time.
But you must get hit up. You must get messages from fans out there who love the album and who just want to, say, hey, I love the album, this sort of thing on Instagram and Facebook.
Well, that's if they can find me, isn't it? So, I'm not one of these people that's terribly good at self-promotion, or go stick in my head and go look at me, and stuff like that. I mostly just post up pictures of guitars or amps that I'm building and, rubbish stuff like that. It's I think I've got maybe 1 or 2 pictures of myself on Instagram, and even that's just basically just hair. So I'm not that great at updating pages and just doing the whole, I think you have to do this whole weekly thing where you post something up and keep people engaged and all that kind of stuff. And it's
that's terrible. Yeah.
And I'd rather just put something up when I've got something to say and when I've actually got something rather than big things coming. I love that. I love that phrase. It's the usual Facebook band thing.
It's so
Things
pathetic.
coming.
Yeah. I see podcasters doing it as well. I got this huge interview and it's some band that's brand new and they're the new Cradle or they're the new Emperor or they're the new something or other. It's like, well, I'll just stick with the old one, thanks.
But I stick with the old ones because, there's never going to be another band like Cradle. There's never going to be another band like Emperor. There's never going to be another band like Immortal. And if you say this band is the new blah, 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 then I already know what they're going to sound like. And they're just basically going to sound like a bad copy. And that's not what I want. So as soon as I hear anyone go, this is the new band, this is the new blah, 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 I'll just switch off and go like, I can't be asked to listen to that. That's like, there's so much music out there. Why should I waste my time on something that's already been done?
No, agreed. It's ridiculous.
I do love finding new music as well. It's like I find, over the years, the only way I think, if you're still excited about music, you'll always look for new stuff. You'll always kind of like try and find something new that you haven't heard before that's kind of cool and consume it. And there's so much out there and stuff like that. And I try to listen to as much as possible. And I kind of give everything a chance because there's good music and there's shit music. And then there's absolutely fucking terrible music. But, hopefully you don't have to go there too often or be exposed to it too much. But generally, you'll find something. The only thing I found recently is that as you get older, into the ancient years, before you become totally nihilistic and grumpy old man, is that the stuff doesn't. When you're young, everything's new, and you go like, "Oh, I can listen to this album on repeat for 3 months until people want to kill me," and I just can't do that anymore. But I'll find music that I absolutely love, and I'll just listen to again and again and again. But I find I've just probably ended up in that mode where you just consume music far quicker than you used to because you've kind of heard it. Apart from occasionally you'll find something go like, oh man, this is absolutely brilliant. I think the last thing was, and I've totally forgotten the name. So this does not make my point very good, does it?
Oh, good.
Rivers of the Hill, that's the one. Rivers of the Hill.
There you go. Yeah, great outfit. Yeah.
I found them and I was like, I was brilliant. And I think that's one of the things I found like 2 years ago. I was like holed up in a shed in the cold outside, building amps. And basically Rivers of Nil was my soundtrack to doing that while the wind was howling outside. There's probably like rats nibbling at my toes because it's just not even a room. It's just a shed. And so occasionally you come across that one album where it just gives you that whole vibe and you have it on all the time. And then it'll just bring you back to where you were and stuff like that at that time. So, I love new music. When I find something cool, it's just one of the best things ever. I just never stop being excited about it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I tend to find that when the streaming era kicked in, so about 2009 or 10, thereabouts, okay, certainly when CD sales, you just couldn't buy CDs anymore. So around about that time, that's when I think music became very much a commodity and you just sort of had it on in the background and the new album from some of your favourite bands wasn't actually the essential thing to listen to. Remember when Morbid Angel released a new album? All of us old fans stopped what we were doing and it's what we listened to for months and months, to your point.
Yeah, no. God, man, Domination was one of my favorite things ever. And then, although the last time I literally was very excited for the full Morbid Angel album was when David Vincent came back and
Elude.
Yeah, that didn't go too well, did it?
It had its moments. Yeah, I'm one of the very rare people that find quite a lot to like about aspects of the album, but it's very schizophrenic.
There's aspects about it that are cool. There's like some really awesome riffs, and it's nice hearing David Vincent back. But on the other hand, there's like bits about going like, nah, this is not for me at all. It's this kind of, in some ways, I think if you look back on the album, it's a brave album as an experiment, but it's one that didn't go well.
No, it should be peeled away, and it's not really a Morbid Angel album in a lot of respects, is it? Because it resembles nothing else in the catalogue. And David had been in Genie Torturers for years, and he'd been away and he turned into Evil D, he'd adopted that evil D persona with the samurai haircut and the PVC and shit. And it was, what on earth is going on here? These guys aren't the god of emptiness anymore. They're something else.
Oh, but the magic of David Vincent never really went away from me. Because I remember me and Dave, we were in Florida, and I think he was there. We used to sing backstage, and literally we just hand him a guitar and says, "Can you teach us the intro riff to Rapture?" And he just looked at us and went, "Come on, man, you're winding me up. You're literally taking the piss out of me. It's such a simple riff. Why do you want that?" And me and Dave just literally went, "We just want to say that David Vincent taught us a Morbid Angel riff. That's what we want, because that's so cool. That's like one of our bucket list things." And he literally shows how to play riff. And I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And after that, I snorted snus, because I didn't realize that the American version of snus is stuff you're supposed to chew, and it's chewing tobacco with glass in it. And I literally, it was like the Austrian stuff, the Austrian stuff.
No,
it's
I'm
like
not familiar. Yeah,
so the Austrian stuff like a little white powder, not the Colombian kind, but literally it's like a white powder that you put on and go like that, and it freshens up your nose and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I thought it was that. So I remember literally just putting it on there, while a absolutely horrified David Vincent looks at me like, "What is this guy doing?" And then sit there and go and snort this tobacco with all this little bits of broken glass in that. It just uses, I think it's glass or something that cuts your lip when you normally chew it, straight up my nose as I sit there going, I don't want to look like a dick in front of David Vincent. I'm just going to have to ride this one out while my nose is absolutely on fire. It's like going, "What are you doing that for?" And I was just, Style it out. You just met David Vincent. He's like one of your childhood heroes. Style it out, motherfucker.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I've had a half an hour conversation with him, and he was generous with his time. This was at a time when we was doing the country music, so about 6 or 7 years ago, and he just wasn't doing interviews. But somehow I managed to get a chat with him, and yeah, he was gracious. I've got to say, he certainly answered all of my bloody questions.
He's like, one of the nicest people I've ever met, man. He's still got that aura. I found in Domination when I went to see Morbid Angel live, like literally Morbid Angel with Immortal and Moonspell, if you can imagine that as a bill, was literally the first gig, like proper gig I went to, like metal gig. I was like a little kid standing in front of all the people, corpse paint and all that kind of stuff, with my dyed red hair or purple hair at the time, just looking like probably just looking like an absolute poser or whatever. But I remember seeing Morbid Angel, and that literally, I think Domination was the height of their powers. I mean, I saw them after that with Tucker, but for me, the whole aura that David Vincent had on that stage, and the whole mysteriousness of Trey Azagtov, because literally, as the one guy, it's like one of these people I don't think I'll ever be able to talk to, even though I absolutely adore his playing, is because I just can't. It's like if you sat me in front of Dave Moore and Adrian Smith and a couple of others, they're people I just could not talk to because I just lose the ability to say words. But anyway, yeah, watching those guys on stage with like Eric Rutan and stuff like that, but especially David Vincent and Trey Azagtov on stage at the time of Domination, it was just one of those things where you go like, shit, man, this is like, they had such an aura at that time. It was immense.
Yeah, Eric does.
Really he's really cool.
Yeah, the whole band, in my experience, have been cool. Eric does the introduction to my show as well. He's a fantastic fella, and I've even spoken to Trey's mum, because you don't get interviews with Trey. That just doesn't happen. So I've had a great conversation with her, and she gave me so much insight.
It's his fault. Like God Type in as Universe is like 7 strings. It's entirely Trey's fault, because I remember seeing the God of Emptiness video, and then I was like going, that's the guitar. Cool. And then he played it on Domination, the black one, the green pickups. That was the guitar, the guitar I had to have. And it was all because of that. So, it's all his fault that I ended up with a lifelong addiction to them. Crippling addiction.
A good crippling addiction.
It's good in some ways, yeah. But, in other ways, it's kind of like, I could have picked something, I don't know, like Lego or something like that to be obsessed with, because I think that's cheaper than a guitar habit, or maybe even crack is probably cheaper as well, or meth.
Yeah, it's arguably better for your health too. But yeah, I know it's totally unrelated. So I play bass predominantly, and I remember as a kid, Flea from Chili Peppers was the Alpha and the Omega, and I never really liked their music, but I loved his playing, and because he's Australian as well, I thought, fuck, I'm going to pay attention to what this guy does. So he plays music.
Never known that Flea was Australian.
Yeah,
and
yeah, born and bred in Melbourne. Yeah, well, maybe not bred, but certainly first few years of his life. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah, his whole family's over here. I think it's just his mother that migrated to the United States and recoupled and remarried. And he talks about it in his book. I think I read part of his book, but it's pretty rambling, his book. And he was forced to lose his Australian accent, go to elocution lessons and stuff. God, imagine if you tried to make someone lose their accent these days. But that's the reason why he doesn't sound Australian. But apparently he's back here a fair bit, and he used to live on the south coast of New South Wales as well. I mean, they can live wherever they bloody want. But
that's like I can see what you mean about the Chili Peppers. I'm just really not into them at all. But he is an amazing bass player.
Great musician. A bit scattered though. He's probably bipolar or something. I'm not accusing him of anything, but yeah, his interviews are hard to listen to because he doesn't stick with. He couldn't do this. He couldn't do this and have a consistent and a conversation that started at A and sort of went B, C, D with a few skips here and there. I don't think I've never really seen him be able to do that, and it could have just been all the drugs that he took through the 80s too.
I think said about a lot of people is the amount of drugs that they took have made them slightly different than they used to be, but possibly I think it's also diminished responsibility of being a musician, where you just
that's common, that one.
I think a lot of people say it's drugs, but I think a lot of cases it's probably diminished responsibility because you just haven't had to really, I don't know, face up. You have a different life, I think, in some cases, and it does make people slightly different and slightly weird.
No, I agree absolutely with that. Gosh, we're agreeing on a lot here because I've seen it in our local scene here in Brisbane and southeast Queensland, and I think I'm the only one that's married. I'm certainly the only one that's married with kids, and God knows how many musicians that I know. There are some others that extended musician friends, this type of thing, but I took a lot of that stuff fairly seriously. I'm Catholic, you see, and I grew up going to mass, and it was sort of drummed into me to lead a fairly pious life in that regard.
So does that mean you own the infamous Cradle T-shirt?
Well, I've certainly spoken to Chris Bell about it and Nigel about it, the two guys who actually came up with it. And I never owned it. It was one of those things. And I remember speaking to Chris about this, and I said that was the one thing that was a bridge too far, funnily enough. The satanic themes and stuff, it just seemed to – I love Deicide too, by the way. Huge fan, as I am of the early Cradle stuff. But the satanic stuff just seemed to bounce off me. It was never the attraction.
I remember Deicide. I remember Deicide was a young, wasn't it? Glenn Benson, he burnt the cross into his head. Yeah. And then he's going to die at the same age of Jesus. And then he never really went through with that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he said a lot of pretty silly things, Glenn, but God bless him. He's a great musician.
Then again, I get that is part of the theatre, isn't it? You've got to realise that a lot of music and statements is theatre. I mean, I know there's some bands out there that are deadly serious, but at the end of the day, I think especially like in Cradle, you're there to entertain and stuff like that. So you go on stage, you pretend to be some weird gothic bat for about 1.5 hours. You throw all the shapes, you pull all the faces, you do all the schlock and stuff like that. And then you come off, and then in some cases, you just have a nice cup of tea. So it's like anyone that thinks that you sacrifice things backstage has got a completely warped view of things, because one, you never get it on the rider, even if you ask for it. And secondly, it's quite messy and stuff like that. And thirdly, at that point, you just really want to have something, a bite to eat and a cup of tea.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very common back in the 90s to be accused of being a devil worshipper if you're wearing even a Metallica T-shirt or an Iron Maiden T-shirt, especially in the suburbs of Sydney or what have you. It was
Devil's got the best tunes. You know
absolutely. That. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's no question about that. Yeah. But at this day and age, mate, I explain to people because I do all these interviews and whether it doesn't matter who it is, Sartre from Satyricon or what have you. I mean, these guys are business people, for God's sakes. They drive Porsches and stuff. These people are hardly the bat soup drinking psychopaths that a lot of the mainstream would have it be made out. And I haven't heard anybody whenever kids' parents and stuff.
A lot of it is just theatre. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
And music is entertainment and stuff like that. And as soon as you start taking it too seriously, as in like you start believing too much that you're the second coming of Cthulhu or whatever, you end up in what's that guy who used to play in Deep Purple and Rainbow?
Richie Blackmore.
Yeah, you end up in Richie Blackmore's territory where suddenly you actually believe you're an elf. Then it's kind of
he's an odd guy. Yeah, he's genuinely odd. Apparently, Richie, like he's it's not an act with him. Apparently, he's psychic or something. Yeah.
Actually, I had an obsession with elves for years and stuff like that. So I thought maybe I'd like his music, but I just don't. The elf stuff is definitely like a bridge too far and stuff like that. It's just too weird and just definitely has disappeared into a place where I don't really think anyone wants to follow.
Yeah. Just with Cradle again, who was managing the band when you were in the group?
That was Faye Wolven all the way through both.
Yeah. What was your take on her?
Absolutely fine. I mean, she had a lot to put up with.
How do you imagine?
So come on, it's just like if I think about it, it's like even the tour managers and everything else, they just had a lot to put up with. I don't know how some people kept their sanity with some of the shit. I mean, you probably had all the old members. I think the old members were worse than what I experienced. That there was even more just all over the place and stuff like that. But even when I was in the band, it was definitely there were moments where I go like, man, why would you want to manage this band or tour manage this band? Because it's basically just like looking after a bunch of retards.
Well, but I mean, the music's Faye had. There's a perception, rightly or wrongly, okay, I'm only mentioning the perception, okay, that when she took over the management of the band, that it became Danny and the Filths. Can you relate to any of that?
I don't think that is so much of a management thing as I think a kind of longer term evolution. So I think as people left Cradle, I think has become more and more Danny's band, as it were. So I don't think that's I think some people might say, it's a push for management to do that, but I really don't think that at all. Because any manager worth their salt does know that, a band has to have like this whole band dynamic going on and stuff like that. I'd probably say that's an evolution that's happened, I would say, over time. And it probably started, I think, in the early 2000s, a little bit there. But as to like blaming one person for the shift, I don't think you can really fairly do that. I think possibly you get people who have like a focal point for stuff they're unhappy about that happened. And it's easy to have a focal point rather than looking at like the whole picture of everything. Yeah, that's probably the most diplomatic answer you'll probably hear about that. But no, I don't think I can lay the blame at anyone's door if you're going to try and ask for who's at fault for what. I just think it's just something that just would have happened over time.
you're good mates with Paul as you are with Sarah, but I'll focus on Paul. I certainly know the reasons around his departure, but he asked me not to share them. So I'll preface my question around that. So can you understand his perspective on things these days?
Paul, yeah, I probably can. I mean, I think that's 90% of the time in the band, I've always got on with Paul and stuff like that. And I've also seen, there's also been times in the band where people just didn't get along. But if I kind of look at that, looking back, it's always really silly, stupid shit. But with Paul, I always just, I don't know, he's the one guitarist I always played with in Cradle. And even if I look at now, I can blame him for some of the little Paulisms I have in stuff I write, because, you know, I'm not gonna lie. It's like I played a lot of Cradle tunes, so that's always kind of going to be there along with all the other stuff. And just like I learned a lot of different guitar tricks from Paul, like I learned compositional tricks from Martin, like I learned all this from all these people in a short period of time. And in terms of Paul, yeah, I always think he's one of these people that's got one of the biggest work ethics I know and stuff like that. And it was always kind of fun writing with him, and also kind of fun playing and stuff like that. So I've forgotten the question, because I've just gone off on this total tangent. So you probably should
answer the question how you want. That's no dramas. No, the question was he's told me he's given me his explanation behind his exit, but he asked me not to publish it. Okay, so of course I haven't done that. But you were his co-conspirator. You were the other guitarist in the band for a significant period of time. So I wasn't paying attention much to the band outside of, it might have been reported on Blabbermouth in 2012 or 13 or whatever it was, and Paul Allender's left the band. And I thought that was very odd. I was thinking, well, the band really can't continue now because he writes the music. We know Danny doesn't write the music. He contributes ideas, lyrics, the image, all of that, but the music is you guys. So when he left, I figured, well, that's it. Really, the soul of the band, if you like, will go with him. But it just kept on powering on. But I guess that's just a statement before the question, which is, given your mates with him and what you feel you can share, can you understand his perspective on things these days?
Yeah, I think I can. This is like, nothing is unreasonable. Nothing is like some kind of weird thing. So yeah, I can understand why he had enough. I mean, it's like, I guess he's kind of like, I mean, he did leave once before, like, you know, just after they recorded Dusk and then came back. So, I mean, I did the same thing. So I think it's just, there are times when you're just not happy with where you are in life and what you're doing. And at that point, you need to make a change. And if it's like kind of like affecting you, then you just, there's no point in going on. Stuff like that. But I've never really asked him his reasons, because I really just don't like prying too much, because, you know, there are reasons for stuff, and I'd rather just, you know, chat with people about the stuff I'd usually chat with than go digging and nosing around and stuff like that, because it's, quite frankly, it's just useless information in my head after a point. So I don't really see the point in
yeah, you're his mate. You're not a journalist. I get it. Yeah, you're his friend first and foremost. So that's important. Yeah.
Talk to me about stuff, I'll listen, but then I'll probably forget it because, there's not that much space up here because I'm blonde.
There you go. Well, you've been articulate, mate. So you're surprised. So you fooled me on that point. But what about Sarah? From memory, she's still good mates with you and James Pybus. With Dave Pybus. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing you have to kind of realize is that I think a lot of people would probably dress up the whole member changes in Cradle and this and that as there's like some kind of massive dramas going on and stuff like that. But the fact is, I mean, you all just got along and stuff like that. It's like it wasn't like everyone hated each other. I mean, I've seen bands that hate each other, and I've seen bands that just all turn up on a separate bus for each member, which is, just ludicrous, and they just do it for the money and stuff like that. And I've always got on with everyone, and occasionally you'll have your spats, and occasionally you have your disagreements. Occasionally you might not like someone like that, but then you're stuck on a bus for 10 weeks. It's always going to happen. I mean, go out with your best friends for 10 weeks on a bus, and every single horrible habit they will have will make you want to go get a knife and stab them.
Oh, yeah.
So, these, and generally in the band, they aren't always your best mates. They're just people that you know and you learn to know and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and go, Dan was always fun. I always, when he was hanging out with him and stuff like that, he was fun. I mean, there's issues with everyone, but I can't literally say that I just go like, I never want to talk to this guy again. I never want to talk to that person again. That's just only happened very rarely. And yeah, there's I think one person I never ever want to see again in my life. But there you go. But that's it. But everyone else, absolutely fine. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird things. I mean, occasionally I'll just hit up Dave and stuff like that. I mean, we did in the pandemic, like when everyone else was doing tunes and stuff like that. I think we dug up something we'd written a while ago and made a demo of it, and then it sounded pretty cool, and then never went anywhere, partially because I think I moved. Everyone's in a pandemic and nothing really can get done, and working with people across different time zones is very, very hard. But it's kind of cool. It was like with Cam from Massacre doing vocals on a track that me and Dave had done with a guy I knew who I'd played with in a band called Matron on keys, and then I think the guy that played drums in Sarah's band doing drums on it. And it was like did one track and it sounded really cool, and then supposed to write more and it kind of fell apart. So,
Yeah, Cam told me about that. I know what you're talking about there. Yeah. I had a really
cool.
awesome chat with him.
It was a shame it kind of disintegrated, because it was kind of fun doing that again. So it's back in that headspace. Yeah.
But Sarah's talked about some she's not a fan of some of the members of the band. I think you know what I'm saying, given you're a mate. But she likes you. So she likes you and she likes Dave. So that's why I'm so keen to talk to her. And there's another reason I'm really keen to talk to her, which is just try to understand her status within the band, because she's in all of the old videos, meaning the live videos, you can see her there on stage. But she was never in the band photos, and she was sort of credited as female vocal or operatic vocal, whatever, Sarah Jezebel Diva there. But it felt like she was a part of the band, but not at the same time. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, I can a little bit, because when you did the whole what was it? Manticore tour and stuff like that. I mean, I was still playing guitar for them, but I hadn't really done writing for the album and stuff like that. So they just had 3 people on it. And I don't know what it was. I think there was something to do with timing, and I was working again and a couple of other things. So at that point, it's like I'm not on the album pictures and stuff like that, but I'm still touring the band. And then it's like one of those weird things. I think I always thought that, personally for me, that she was, part of the band, because it's like, I can't remember. I think she's on Cruelty, isn't she? I can't remember.
Yeah, she definitely is. Yeah,
she's on all the other CDs and stuff like that.
Yeah, Dusk. Yeah,
stop doing it. So I mean, that is, to me personally, that's being part of the band, and whatever decisions were made why she's not in pictures and stuff like that, I don't know. But I do think that's a shame, because I think that she should have been included in all those things because of the contribution and stuff like that. Because I think for a lot of fans, she is part of that sound. And, it's got to be an English voice doing Cradle overdubs. It just doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah, it was a very significant part of that. Funeral in Carpathia, or what's the song before Funeral in Carpathia? Sorry, it's Gothic Romance, whatever it might be. People are probably yelling at me now, saying it's this song. You should know it. You've interviewed the members, but
how do you not know these things?
You aren't a fan anymore. You gotcha. You know.
Yeah, well, I haven't got memory anymore, so with all the hear me now. That's that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's my young adulthood. That stuff. It's all wrapped up around it. Yeah, but what do you think? What around your greatest challenge in the band? Was there a challenge that you felt was notable whilst you're in the group?
I always found the challenge was kind of the writing aspect. That's the most challenging thing, because you can't, to touch on this earlier, it's that you can't write what you want. Is that you can't just go, I'm going to come up with a bunch of riffs. I think when I first started writing with Amphetamine, I probably had that like a whole bunch of riffs. And I remember probably listening to them going like, Jesus Christ, what's going on in this guy's head and stuff like that. But you kind of quickly learn there is kind of a formula to Cradle. It's like I could probably spill the beans right now, and it's quite easy. It's like, for every single riff, you have different varying tail ends at the end. You have your harmonies and stuff like that you throw in. You try to make the structure as well. I love the old Cradle stuff because the structure's all over the place. They're so hard to learn in the beginning, but once you get used to it, you kind of could get through it. But some of the structures are just, they don't make any sense. They really don't make any sense. So you get through a whole song and it's like a random 4 bars of a riff that normally any other same band would remove. I think that's in Funeral Carpathia, actually. It's like one little riff and you go like, what the is that? And I think another challenge was actually, weirdly, learning songs of Cruelty, because at that point, no one in the band had played on the album.
Yes. So who do you turn to?
You literally do the same thing every kid in their bedroom does, and that's put the CD on and sit there for hours playing stuff. I mean, you've possibly got a head start because you know how generally Cradle riffs are written. So there's a lot of like open string with has a pedal tone with moving notes across that diads. There's a lot of that going on. I mean, if you look at the tabs online and if you see any Cradle riff like in Funeral Carpathia, it's only got one string on it, it's wrong. Totally wrong. So one of the things like that is like you do have like a bit of a head start kind of knowing how they'd play because you played the other stuff. And Gian would have showed Paul how to play the riffs of Cruelty. So you still had that as like a resource of this is how you play them. And I'll tell you what, if you ever try to learn stuff off internet tabs, I could tell you 60% of the stuff was wrong at the time, even up to 80%. It was just completely batshit wrong. Because when I auditioned, that's the only thing I had was like, ultimate guitar tabs where it's like little text someone's put up there going, well, I've got a week to learn fight, because that was mental actually. So I'm going to do a trip down memory lane here, if you don't mind. It's like when I first auditioned, it was literally, and this is the thing, I never thought I'd get this gig. I just literally thought, I'm a little country bumpkin from Belgium. That's where I grew up. It's pretty small and stuff like that. I'm in living in London, stuff like that. And I've heard of all these bands. And I think Adrian's gone like, why don't you audition for bass before that? And I've gone like, nah, I'm not a bassist. And they got Dave. And so I think when they were Gian left, he went, why don't you audition for guitar? And so I thought, all right, I'll do it. And just in the back of my head, I went, it'd be really cool to sit in the pub afterwards and go audition for these guys. I got to play with them. That was really cool. But, they got someone else, that deserved to be in the band or something like that. Because I never really think like I deserved to be when I was auditioning. So that must sound weird to some people, because some people are probably going to go like, yeah, man, I spent my whole life preparing for this. I can bite the head of 5 bats in a minute. I've trained my destiny, something like that. And I never thought that. So it's like, here you go. Learn these, I think, 5 songs, and we'll see you in a week. So I literally do my job, come home, go to the Chinese, eat some egg fried rice, and then spend 5 hours playing or 6 hours until basically my hands dropped off, learning all this stuff. I go to the audition, play, and I have to go like, oh, that was cool. That was fun. And then 2 days later, they call me up and go, next week, come back. Here's another 5 to learn. They go like, wait, what is this weirdness that's happening? It's like, surely they found someone else that, is whatever. So I thought, okay, well, do some more. And then it happened again. In 2 weeks, learn another 5 songs. And this was like before you had Guitar Pro or YouTube videos, people showing you playthroughs, all that shit. So you had to basically sit there and go, figure it out by ear, use some guitar tabs, and they're found by someone who's done it because you haven't got the time to do all of this yourself. And it basically kind of go, well, that's wrong, that's right. I can kind of muddle my way through it. And even then, you turn up rehearsal, go, let's actually know you play it like this and stuff like that. And I kind of learned. So I went through all of that. And I think after the third rehearsal, my arms died. So after the third audition, and I'm going like, oh shit, man, if they ask me back a 4th time, I am screwed because I can't literally, I was like this, work up and your hands wouldn't even move. And the doctor just told me, you've got toxic shock. And I was like, what the
What?
So, yeah, because basically, I'd been playing 5-6 hours a day and I was typing for the other 8. So basically, I completely annihilated both my arms. And then eventually they went, oh, how'd you feel about doing these gigs in December? And I was like, what? This is fucking weird. So, and then the whole gigs in my arm started working again magically. That's about a week later. So I kind of was cool with that because I had enough learning this stuff. I had a little bit of a break. And then those gigs in December got cancelled. I thought, oh, well, no, they'll definitely find someone else now. And that was it. I didn't hear from them for ages until I think the January when they go, oh, it's a European tour. Are you coming? And that's kind of how it started. But all the way through the whole thing, I never thought I'd get it. It was like, it was going to be a cool story I could tell people. Like I once auditioned for Cradle of Filth. Like,
there you go.
That happened in my life, and then it went from there.
Did you get the impression that you're the sort of bloke that is easy to have a pint with and have a bit of a laugh with, and that was a bit of a significant reason why you joined the band? What I imagine is good guitar players. It's not that they're a dime a dozen, but I've heard David Gilmour talk about bass players and why Guy Pratt got the gig in Pink Floyd, and they said it was because he's a good bloke to hang around with. Basically, you can get Pino Palladino or any of these magnificent bass players in, but the band felt that they could sit around after a gig and have a cigar and a pint with Guy Pratt. Did you feel that there was a bit of that going on with you as well?
I have no idea. If I'm completely honest, I have absolutely
so I'm getting that
idea.
impression, that's all. I'm getting that impression that you're an easy guy to be around and that you enjoy having a laugh and you're knowledgeable, and you can, to your point about the 10 weeks straight on a bus, they might have seen, they could deal with you in that situation.
I don't know. And also when I was younger, I probably looked a bit better than I do now, less lines and shit like that. So
hey, didn't we all? Don't worry.
So no, I don't know. I mean, I never really asked what the kind of reasons were, because I mean, even on the European tour I did first, I thought, at the end of it, it's like, well, am I going to keep on doing this? I have no idea until they asked me to do, another tour and go on Ozfest and stuff like that. And then it was only kind of, I think, after the Ozfest and after, like, on the third tour that I kind of sort of start to think, oh, well, yeah, I kind of maybe the little new table in the living room kind of thing, that I've kind of done that and that makes taking a couple of things. So yeah, I've never asked what the decision process was because I don't really want to know, because that's kind of, I think, possibly a bit self-serving if you want to know exactly why and stuff like that. And I just thought it was quite a good ride. They were, you're on this ride, just go for it and see what happens and stuff like that. Don't have really any expectations. Like, I think if you go into anything with like this expectation that you're going to be the second coming of God, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Mm-hmm. But if you go into something with no expectations and go, I'm going to see where this goes. And, at the end of it, I'll have some cool stories. Then I think you're pretty much set for it. But yeah, I've completely gone around the bushes again from the question, haven't I?
No, that's awesome. Not at all. No, not at all. No. It's the way you want to talk about things in Cradle of Filth. This will be really interesting, as I said up top, because I haven't spoken to somebody who joined the band post 2000. You're the very first, and I'm hoping it opens up some other doors actually, because they're virtually two different bands from when Stuart was in the band to when you joined and what was going on there, because that's when the revolving. I mean, it was always there. I get that, but it just feels like as though the revolving door accelerated after that. So you're giving a lot of context to some perceptions that are out there that the band is Danny and the Filth, but talking to you, it doesn't feel like that at all. It just feels like the dynamic is what it is, and people join and people leave.
At least when I was kind of doing it, it is like that and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think I would have been. The second time when I went back, literally, I just went back going, I'm not going to rely on this financially. I'm just going to be, as I say, the geek will inherit the earth. Like, I'm basically under all of this, I'm a proper nerd. And so it's like going, when I went back the second time, I'm going, look, I'm not going to rely on any of this. I'm just going to go back to have fun and have a good time and, do some cool shit. So for me, it was always about being a band and feeling like it was you against kind of everyone else a little bit and having that camaraderie. And for me, so when that kind of camaraderie disappears, then I'm not really interested. So maybe I've got a different take on it than everyone else because I don't know, maybe it's how I'm built. I'm not quite sure, but that's always been my kind of take on it. It's like, no one's going to get rich off music or make a living and stuff like that. I mean, I'm even surprised I get the occasional royalties from now and again, which buys me, I don't know, guitar pedal here and there or something like that. But it's not like, as you can see, there's no one walking around with platters of cocaine in this room. So, it didn't do that.
Yeah, they just left. They just left, did they?
I didn't. They just left. Yeah, that's why I'm talking so much.
No, that's great. So if Dan, you bumped into Dan at your local, you'd gladly have a couple of rounds with him.
Yes, I would. I mean, I almost did a Grassport this year. They were playing there, and I was talking to their sound guy, and I hadn't realised he was Cradle sound guy, and said, "Oh, and come meet them." And I think things conspired against it because what festivals are like. You get everyone on the guest list apart from the people that you actually might want to see. Yeah, because everyone's there. It's like, I don't know, be seen. Try and talk, I don't know, stick their nose up everyone else's arse. You get a lot of that. And you know what? I'm not interested in that. And I got to the stage where going, you know what? This is too much bullshit to deal with on the day that I'm here, on the morning that I'm here, that's not planned. I'd already set in my head that I wanted to go see every single band that day, which I managed to do just to see if I could find some new stuff, hear some new stuff, see some awesome stuff. Unexpectedly gain appreciation for bands I thought I would hate, that kind of stuff. And then,
do you do that thing where you go to see one of your bands that you're actually mates with people in the bands with, but you think, I'm not going to be a punisher and do the before show, try to catch up with them and even the after show thing because of the amount of punishers that hang around? Do you do that thing where you text them afterwards and say, hey, mate, great show? And then they say, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me you were here?
Yeah, that's kind of happened. Or I've just not said anything, going on, that was really fucking cool and stuff like that. Because now I've played these festivals. I know exactly what it's like. You get there, you've got tons of shit to do. It's a festival. So you're based at the complete mercy of whatever monitor mix you get thrown on stage on. People think festivals are fun. They're way more stressful than gigs because you have no idea what stage sound is going to be like until you go on. And then you play and you come off and stuff like that. And there's still tons of fun and shit like that. So and you know that there's always going to be some vague amounts of chaos backstage where things are not going to plan. You're having to find people. They're massive things. So you go, you know what? I just went to Sam and says, go say hi. And, if it had worked out, yeah, sure. It'd been cool to sit down with Dan and just have just a normal chat about stuff and stuff like that. But, if they come through Belgium at some point, then maybe I'll do that and go see them when it's, less of a clusterfuck to do anything like that. Because I think, in general in life, I just try not to harbor any hard feelings or resentment about anything, because I think life's too short. And besides, it's my life. It's like no one has control over me apart from myself. And if I start blaming shit in my life on someone else, it's like, it's like, this is just two parties for everything. And not that I'm talking about abandoned, this is a general life philosophy and stuff like that. Yeah, no. I think if in Grasport was like, if it happens, that'd be really cool, because I've seen him since I went to a gig that they did on the tour where they had, I think, Richard and
Marek.
Oh, shit with names, totally shit with names. I don't remember. I think when I just went and saw them there and stuff like that. And it's not really seen anyone since then, because I just disappeared and went and did my own thing for quite a while. But yeah, I think it would be cool to catch up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So one of those things where I wouldn't. You can't say no to anything in life, can you? You can't just sit there and go, I'm not going to do this or that ever again. I think the only time you really should just go, I'm never going to have any dealings with someone again, is when they've completely and utterly screwed you over in such a way that there's no saying sorry. But that hasn't happened. So you know what? I look back on my time in Cradle quite fondly and go, it was good fun. I mean, I ain't going to complain about it.
Sorry, I'll just turn that off. My wife's
if you call it an episode, that does make it sound like something went really wrong. It was just an episode in his life. I mean, he's okay now, though.
Yeah, you're part of you're part of the recovering Cradle alumni. There you go. You guys go to not AA, but Cradle Anonymous meetings or what have you. Zoom sessions.
How many
Zoom meetings?
Do I get tokens for having not played a Cradle song for 100 days or something like that?
Definitely. Why not? Yeah, definitely. And but there are a lot of ex-members, and I find everybody's got a different story to tell. Sorry, the sun's coming up, so it's hitting me in the face. Everybody's got a very different story to tell, and that's life. That's life, isn't it? It was just Cradle are a unique band in that they were the band that for a very small period of time took over the heavy metal world after the late 90s, so when Cruelty came out, and I think so many of us just thought it was just the second coming of Iron Maiden there for a bit, and it didn't quite happen. And the band just went on to become another metal band that plays on the festival circuits and certainly comes here and plays in the clubs and in Australia. But it's kept on keeping on. So I've got to give Dan that. He's been resilient and persistent, if nothing else.
No, definitely. I mean, I think it takes a lot of effort to keep a band going for so long. And do the same thing for so long. I mean, I know I've got a boredom threshold, so there's only sometimes I can do the same thing over and over again before I go, I'm bored of this now. So it takes a lot of dedication, but when that's your life, then you put that dedication into it. I mean, Paul was like that as well. It's extremely dedicated to the whole thing, and you just put that effort in.
Yeah, I've really encouraged Paul to share his story, because he certainly has one, and he's still active. He's got the unnamed horrors. We know what he's going. Going on now.
I'm interested to see what he's got. I mean, he's finally got himself guitars with more than 6 strings. So he's hopefully I don't. It's probably nothing to do with me, man. I've always liked 7 strings and stuff like that. But it's nice to see him kind of have that, so he can have something different. I think he said he was enjoying it and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. And it's nice to see him doing stuff again as well.
Have you heard it? Have you heard the stuff?
I've heard the odd riff and stuff like that there. But then again, I know Paul's guitar playing that well then I can listen to it and I can just hear it's Paul. So I kind of know what it's going to be like. This is not a bad thing. It's not saying it's predictable or anything like that. But when you've played for that long with someone, you just
signature
know.
Style, yeah.
But signature style, that's just his, and he's not afraid to be himself. So he's never going to be anyone else than Paul Allender. And that's one of the things I think you should appreciate when you listen to the albums that he did. It's Paul Allender. That's how he sounds like. That's how he writes, and he's never going to change for anyone. Which is cool.
It's great stuff. It's sounding magnificent. I'd love to hear the finished product whenever he gets around. As you know, he's driving trucks around the Midwest of the USA these days. Because that's a predictable career move, right? Guitar and Cradle in the UK
exactly.
to driving trucks in the Midwest.
I think for me, I think mine, I guess becoming professional nerd is possibly something that most people can kind of relate to, because I think IT is probably the one of the careers where basically the more you look like a weird hippie tramp, the more people think you have an aura about you and that you know stuff.
You have knowledge I must attain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to run around looking like a wizard, then you must be a wizard. As opposed to, I think most jobs will go, if you're going around looking like a wizard, you're obviously fucking insane. And we don't want you to work for us anymore.
Not IT.
So, they're not IT. Basically, you just look like some. The weirder you look, I think, and just the more opinionated you are, the more people listen to you. It's absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, I worked in IT for a bit too, and I certainly wasn't for me. And it was mainly just having the patience to deal with people who weren't really sure about the programs, and I wasn't an IT help desk, but I was an account executive. So you do it all when you do that. There's not anything you don't touch.
No. When you're one of the basement nerds, basically, they occasionally come and talk to you. They feed you a little piece of paper for a slot gun. You kind of want this. Please don't talk to me. Tell me when it's done, but please don't talk to me or have a conversation. You're too weird. Too weird. Stay in the basement. Code little monkey code, and then we'll throw you some peanuts at the end of the month. That sounds cool, man. It's like the IT crowd is pretty accurate as a representation of life.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, do you get to work from home, or do you have to work in an office?
Oh yeah. So I've not actually. I've seen an office twice in the past almost 4 years.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So I mean, it does get a bit weird and stuff like that, but it does mean that I've you have your nice little space. I have my guitars and stuff like that. If I get too bored, I can go off and do something creative. And if it's one of my dreams, is a space to be able to work and pick up a guitar whenever I wanted to. So now I can do that. And it's nice like that. So, it helps. And also, I didn't have to speak to people before. I don't really have to speak to people now as long as I get my shit done. So, yeah. It's like that, isn't it? Which is good, because it means I can get music done, which is actually fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know that's the thing.
That's the thing, is I can't wait for people to hear it. I mean, just to see what they think and stuff like that. It's one of those things where you go like, I wonder if people will like it. I'm not sure, because this is the thing that no one tells you as a musician, that by the time you've bought out an album and everyone else listens to it, you have no idea if it's good anymore. You have absolutely zero idea. It's kind of like Stockholm syndrome yourself with your own music.
So true. Yeah.
Like, you don't know if you love it or you hate it. You don't know if it's good or it's bad. The only thing you know is that you've heard it about 10,000 times. So you have zero clue. And every time you get to that point where you're just going to bring something out, you get to that position, you go like, is anyone actually going to like this? Because I don't even know anymore. It's like kind of, it's lost all meaning to me. I mean, I remember when I wrote it, I was really thinking, this is really cool. But is it still cool? Is it still good? I have no idea whatsoever. And I think every musician at that point starts shitting bricks as soon as they bring something out, because they just have zero clue about how anyone's going to react to it. No idea. So I find myself in that situation again now, going like, I have zero clue what everyone's going to think about this. So it'd be nice if they liked it.
Is it close to coming out for a release? Like, have you got a release idea of a release date?
Well, I'm aiming for drum tracking in end of October, beginning of November. around then. So probably think it's going to be beginning of November, after which, you go for all the things, you get all the guitars done, I get all the keys done, bass tracked and vocals. I'm kind of hoping to have everything kind of wrapped up by January, which probably means, because shit always goes wrong, that'll probably be February and mixed. And after that, it's kind of a case of, finding someone who's interested in bringing it out. Because as I said, I'm just so rubbish at self-promotion. I don't even know where to look. This is like one of those things where I just realized that I am just not the person that should be managing me, because I like playing music. I like playing guitar, get really excited about it. It's like watching a hamster on crack when things go right. Mm-hmm. You get really fired up and stuff like that. Everyone goes like, oh, this is amazing. This is so cool. And you always go running around going like, oh, this is making my metal dreams come true. And that's the main classification you have for music. Does it make my metal dreams come true? If it does, if it makes me excited, then it's good. And so I think after that, I'll be mixing and then find someone who's, I was going to say brave enough to put it out, but that's not really selling myself, is it? It's like find someone who'd like to put it out and actually, just bring it out into the world and stuff like that. That would be cool. And hopefully people will like it. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be lovely. There's all the old Cradle fans, mate. Will certainly the fans who loved your work in the band, mate, will certainly be interested, and they'll find it. That's what you find happens. You don't need to do too much. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, anyone listens to here, I think I've got one track which I put out on YouTube, because that was actually a decent live recording from gig, and I thought, that's pretty cool. And it gives like one facet of what it sounds like. I think anyone expecting it to sound like Cradle will be sorely disappointed. It probably has Cradleisms in there, and I think people have told me it does, because I'm not going to get away from that. That's kind of inherently in some of the things I play.
You point about working with Paul too, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the kind of things that you learn, the things like I picked up those cool Cradleisms that I find I use occasionally here and there and stuff like that, because I really like them, like little tricks and little things that I thought were awesome and stylistic, like cues and stuff like that. But it's not going to sound like it. It's just going to be whatever, because I've just gone for more synthy stuff, some bit of black metal, a bit of thrash, probably a bit of power metal in there. There's probably, I don't know, I think I've ripped off Massive Attack, which someone could try and find where I've done that.
Okay, I'm going to listen out for that one. I love Massive Attack, yeah.
But yeah, just having all these different things, and I just basically just trying to make it as varied as I possibly can, and as interesting as I possibly can, and to the point where I go, is this something I'd like to listen to? Which brings me back to the point, it's like I don't know anymore, because I've heard it so many times that I've absolutely no idea. But I'm kind of excited about this still, and I really want to get it out there like as soon as possible. But I know these things take time. It's frustrating, especially if you haven't got a budget behind you and you're having to kind of just DIY this stuff. But you do it because you love it, not because of anything else. And I want to put this out because I love it, and I think hopefully other people would enjoy it as well.
People will too. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear it.
At least got a band name, because when you ask me to do this, it's just like going, oh shit, man. The guy wants to talk to me. I haven't even got a band name. And I think we sat down for like weeks after that. It's like going through short lists of names and just coming up with all these things. It's the hardest thing in the world. I'm surprised that we settled on Summon the Wolves. It was actually fairly painless once we got there, but it did take a good 2 or 3 weeks of people going, oh, no, I don't like that. Oh, that sounds rubbish. Oh, no, if you called band that, I'm leaving. Stuff like that.
Oh, really? Oh, God. Yeah. The band names are always inconsequential.
Band names are the worst. I don't understand how they become so hard. I mean, I guess if you if I was, because I always find South American band names are some of the best. Like you get Ghost, Priest, Molester, and stuff like that. And it's like those guys don't give a fuck, man. They just want to play like gnarly fucking death metal and go like, yeah, that word, fucking done. That's how I kind of imagine it goes with them. And they come up with these like band names. You're like, okay, yeah, if I see 3 of those unrelated words together, I know it's going to be pretty fucking awesome and it's like worth listening to and stuff like that. If it's been thought through too much, I'm not that interested, because obviously, they're already far too commercial because they've got a demo out. I remember like they had like old black metal stuff, and people go like, "Oh no, I like their first demo," but as soon as they got signed, they went to shit. They sold out. And you go like, "How the fuck did they sell out?" This album, the first album, still sounds like it's been recorded on a My First Sony, and just basically mixed by someone that is tone deaf. It's like the reason I do have a love of like badly produced albums. Not badly produced, because I think a lot of bands started, like, I think especially like early 2000s, early 2010s, they started going like, we need to recreate the early black metal sound. So they do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And it never sounds right, because the thing that they completely fail to see is that all those early bands, they didn't do it on purpose. They just didn't have any money.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Basically had the shittest equipment available, and they tried to do their best with it. And that's why it sounds good. Like you get like Catatonia's Brave Murder Day is like a massively flawed album production wise. It's like, but it's got an atmosphere. Another one of my favorites is Arch Enemy Stigmata, because that one, it's got such a weird atmosphere in the production. It makes it a great album. And I think once they started having better production, this just wasn't the same for me, because it missed that weird atmosphere that other one has. It's almost haunting. And the same with like, if you ever heard of a band called Diabolical Masquerade?
I think I've heard of them, but yeah, continue. You're right. Yeah.
So Nightwork is basically is Blackheim from Catatonia. It's his black metal thing, and Nightwork is an amazing album. It's got this atmosphere that has just to die for. But if you play it to someone now, to go like, "What is this underproduced shit, man? I can eat better in my bedroom with all my plugins." But that's not the point. It's a brilliant album. And the one they did after that was just completely off the wall, where he basically just, I think he scored a film that didn't exist.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
Worth a good listen.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about Catatonia. I just spoke to Jonas last night, because they're touring. So, they've got heaps going on, those guys. They've had quite a career, haven't they?
Yeah, I love Brave Murder Day. The one after that, the yellow one and the blue one. And I think there was the album of Departure on it. I absolutely adored that album as well. Pretty much quoted Departure song, which I played on repeat. Stuff like that. So the coolest thing was actually playing with them, and go like, I think I just remember telling, I keep on forgetting people's names. We got black on voice, so I told them, it's like, yeah, man, you played a gig in London, and I was outside trying to get in. I couldn't get in and stuff like that. And it's a shame, because I really want to see you guys. And then I told them, I love Diabolical Masquerade. He was like, what? Someone actually listened to that shit. I had a Diabolical Masquerade t-shirt that someone stole, which I'm still gutted about, because that was like, I spent ages looking for one of those. Oh, man, being a metal fan.
Oh, it's a journey, isn't it? You find your bands and your underground stuff, and I like Time Ghoul and some of that shit too.
Stuff like that. Because I remember, like, I was well into Hypocrisy, and they played that song "The Abyss" on Headbangers Ball, and it had a video, and it wasn't on any of the albums I could get. Maybe it was on, like, I think some limited edition that was sold out that I never found. And I literally bought a compilation album and ordered it and waited 6 weeks for it just to get that track.
The Death is Just the Beginning compilation, was it? I think it was on there.
Yeah. And then I got it, and the CD had a flaw in it. Had like one little like weird thing.
It was right on the song.
Yeah, it was right on the song. So I was waiting another 6 weeks for another copy. And I finally got to listen to it, and it's like, this is amazing. But when you chase stuff down like that as a fan, when you finally get it, it's like, this is so awesome. You go like, this is my treasured little thing. This is so cool. I think I kind of do miss that with streaming, because everything's kind of available. You don't have to go hunting for stuff. There's no real rarities and stuff like that. It kind of takes some of the fun out of it, of just literally just having to find that one track that no one else believes exists, but it exists. Keep telling people it exists, and they go like, nah, man, you must have been drunk or something. You must have been high. That doesn't exist. And eventually going,
got it.
This out, motherfuckers. I told you.
Yeah, it's a metalhead's journey, that one there, the quest, if you like, to find the most cold stuff you can. But yeah, you're right. Those days, I've got to say, those days are gone. You can find everything. It's either on YouTube or it's Bandcamp or it's streaming in some way, isn't it? Even the most obscure shit.
Which I think is kind of a shame. I think not that it's all available, because I think, having choice and being able to listen to so much is really cool. I mean, for all the hunting to find an awesome track, I also remember seeing the video on Headbangers Ball going, oh, this is awesome, buying the album, and then realizing that the other 10 tracks on the album are absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
And they put out one good one and you couldn't listen to it before you bought it. And I was like, wow, that's a waste of my money, wasn't it? That was shit. So there's always that and stuff like that. So you've got all that choice. But one thing I think is the thing I miss the most is that no one seems to make albums anymore that you listen to from the beginning and to the end, and it's planned as like this nice journey that you can listen to. I mean, the last album I found that really did that for me is that Rivers of Nihil, which is why I like it so much. I can put it on, I can start it off, it builds up, it goes through all the thing, and then it ends, and you go like, right, I've been on a journey, I can listen to this again. Whereas I think a lot of things now is just like people want instant gratification. So the first song is the hit song, they got maybe a song that isn't there, another hit one, everything's released as singles and stuff like that. So you've kind of heard it all before, and then there's maybe a couple of filler tracks on the album to like boost it up, if they even do an album, because I think lots of people are just doing EPs now and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I've dropped out this EP and stuff like that. And the thing I missed about an album is that it's like this nice snapshot in time of a band. This whole thing where you go, this is what they were like at this time. And the sound from start to finish and this whole journey, this is how they arranged songs, this is how to kind of like, you have this experience listening to it. I kind of miss that quite a lot with things. So it's, when you do find something like that, which is I find kind of rare, it's absolutely magic. Because albums, you used to have to listen to that. You just put it on from start to finish, and maybe there's like one shit song where you didn't really like it, and you maybe could skip it on a CD or based on tape, just wind it forwards or something like that, or just not listen to it and go, God, that's a shit song again. But, the next one's going to be awesome. And you kind of knew it back to front and you listened to like kind of everything. Whereas I think, because I think music is the advert for the T-shirt these days.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a shame, because it used to be the T-shirt is the advert for the music. Yeah, that's kind of gone away. But, you can't just sit there for your whole life and think that everything's going to kind of stay the same. Because it doesn't. And, nostalgia is a very dangerous thing to kind of get wrapped up in. You've got to realize, the world moves on with or without you. It doesn't really matter. So, the best is to like just see things for what they are right now. But I do miss the whole thing that bands used to really arrange an album from start to finish. So it was like a nice little journey through the whole thing.
Yeah. There are some choice albums that have been released, but they just don't take hold these days. They're there for a couple of weeks and then boom, on to the next one. The Killer Be Killed album recently was good. The Greg Puciato solo album from Dillinger Escape Plan was another good one. It's probably my favorite album of the last few years. But it's either. I also think the speed of life, just with our integration into technology, has meant that things just move so much quicker these days. We just don't have time to listen to Euthanasia. Remember when Euthanasia came out? We don't have time to listen to that for 6 months straight. It's just not what we do these days.
I was obsessed with Elysian Fields off the album. That track was just
great song.
Yeah. And so when Countdown to Extinction came out, same thing. But, for me, it's always Rust in Peace. That is, everyone's going to say that kind of thing. But
it's true,
for years, you'd say, "Oh, Rust in Peace is the best album." You get all like the old guys going, "Nah, man, nothing is peace sells." But I think everyone's kind of come to the consensus that Rust in Peace is definitely the best speed thrash album ever made, hands down.
Well, that'll Rain in Blood, so I think they're on par.
I know you could fight me on that.
Oh, really? You're not a huge Rain in Blood fan? Well, you are. I think
it's all right. 30 minutes of regression and stuff like that. But, for something that has it all, Rust in Peace has it all. It has all the riffs. It has the weird song, which is immeasurably cool. It has the absolutely blinding out first track, the outro track. It has the Tornado of Souls. It has this variation for the whole thing. You can listen from start to finish. It's like technically, it still stands up today against a ton of other bands. You will find people that still can't play stuff that Marty Friedman played 30 years ago. It's all that. I mean, Slayer, Rainbird, fair enough. It's like, your slab of aggression. But I think it's more forgettable than Rust in Peace.
Great gym music. When I used to go to the gym, I used to listen to Rain. It was actually what I listened to for a period of time there, and it keeps you going a little bit because it's just unrelenting. It just doesn't ever let up.
And that's the beauty of it. It's basically just being pummeled to death for 30 minutes, and then you go like, you know what? I can still move my finger. Let's put it on again.
Yeah. Well, it was they had a very limited style, Slayer, and I didn't get into them for years. I must confess, I was a death metal guy.
I actually think Season in the Abyss is the better album by them.
I'd agree with you on that as well. Believe me, I would. I certainly in terms of consistency of being able to listen to it, no doubt.
Yeah, and variation as well.
Yeah. Rain in Blood is what it is, though, isn't it? It's just you've nailed it. It's like
Rain
being pummeled.
It's kind of like Peace Cells. It's kind of like, it's a lot of. I think those thrash bands all kind of had the same trajectory where the breakout album that they had is like the one that everyone thinks is like, oh, this is awesome and stuff like that. But then give it 2 albums down the line, and I think they all made their kind of their masterpieces, as it were.
Yeah, they learned a lot. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
And then they all collectively lost it.
Yeah. Well, what you said about Seventh Son is true for just about all of those bands, from Judas Priest to Metallica, even Megadeth. At a certain point, it's the law of diminishing return kicks in, and it just seems to be a universal.
I think it's also that these bands they've got to a stage where they have to sound like themselves, and the hardest thing you can do is go, I can't progress because no one's going to buy the album. So I have to do what I'm doing over and over again. Because if you do the stuff that you kind of want to do, like Metallica made a country album, which is Load and Reload, which, that was the one of the biggest disappointments that I've ever heard was Load.
Yeah, terrible albums. Yeah, they're not well written. There's all these fanboys out there that just fall over themselves. It's not about defending the album, but they claim the album as that it's something that it isn't. But my point is, if it was released by another band, nobody would listen to it, and that's the litmus test.
Yeah, that's pretty much. It is true. If someone else had released that, it wouldn't have done anywhere near as well. And I always felt it should have been a solo album. There should have been James fulfilling his country fantasies rather than a Metallica album. Because as it was, that was just disappointing. They lost it with that one. I think the only band that kind of kept it mostly together for me is Megadeth. I mean, they had Risk, which is possibly a low point, but it was still Megadeth.
It's probably the worst of the worst, that one there, unfortunately. That's in my opinion, that's way worse than Load. Risk is just horrible, like irredeemable on just about every level. It's I can't. I've tried with that album a few times. I got it when it first came out, and I thought, I'll give it a go. It's something a bit different here, but it's not. The songs aren't there. The playing's there. That's the only redeemable characteristic, is that they can still play. Yeah,
so I think for me, they're the ones that got away with it the most out of all of the bands. Because Slayer did that really horrible album. That was absolutely terrible.
Diabolus and Musica.
Yeah, I don't think they ever really recovered from that one.
God Hates Us All isn't good either, in my view. It's just noisy. Yeah, as after Seasons in the Abyss.
That World Painted Blood and God Hates Us All, and the lyrics for that and the way they're sung is exactly the same. Da 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 da. World Painted Blood and God Hates Us All. So it's like, it's just shame.
Yeah, well, they'd even lost it by divine intervention, the album that was recorded in different studios. And even by then you could hear it was like, what is going on here? And then they did the Undisputed Attitude punk album, and it was like they were trying to claim territory that was never theirs.
I still like both of those because I was like still had the Slayer vibe to it. It was just after that, it just went totally tits up for me. I mean, you got the punk cover saying that they were the punk. I can kind of understand that as a cover album. It's kind of fun. But, that's what it is. It's a cover album, a fun cover album at that point. And Divine Intervention still got some really fucking good songs on it. But I do see what you mean. It's when something starts to not feel quite right about the whole thing anymore.
They're just largely forgettable. That's my point. And I was around back then. I loved them when they came out. I want to be clear here. Yeah, Undisputed Attitude, I remember listening to a lot when it came out. I loved it. I had a little bit of money by that stage because I'd left school and was working. So it certainly had its hooks in me. But did I listen to it after maybe a year afterwards? No, I just never put it on ever again. That's the point about the Seventh Son thing. Have I put Seventh Son on in the last 12 months? Yeah, a few times. It's a killer album. It stands up. It's timeless.
I even like Somewhere in Time. I mean,
I love that album. Yeah, love it. Yeah.
I just remember just looking at the cover artwork for that and trying to find all the things in it.
Yeah,
like all the little
great that way.
But for me, Maiden is definitely the peak was Power Slave, Somewhere in Time, and Seventh Son. Those three albums are just peak of their powers.
There was 5 albums, wasn't there? Yeah, 5 albums there in the middle for them. I often say that Maiden had the greatest stretch of classic albums of any band in history, and that includes the Beatles and all the rest of them. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. From Number of the Beast up to a Seventh Son, it's just no bad songs. No bad songs. They're just all there. Amazing. Don't know how they did it, actually. It's a great dynamic.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the band dynamic that did it. They just worked very well together.
Yeah, just right the way through. Peace of Mind, Power Slave, Somewhere in Time, No Prayer. Not No Prayer. God, that's horrible. Sorry, I can't stand that album. Seventh Son and Number of the Beast. The whole thing, just because a collective, they're all different. They've all got their own characteristic and their own unique personality.
They've all got their own vibe. So it's like the whole. And I think in some cases, flawed production does give them that vibe. And it does have that, like those sounds to it. But you listen to all those things, and you can listen to them from front and back, and they're just like a nice little story and adventure. And I think they did lose that after that because
they're an odyssey. I
can't put on Brave New World like that because it's got that Blood Brothers song on, which I think is absolutely atrocious.
Same. We agree on just about everything. Yeah, I hate it. The Klansman. I can't. Yeah, I remember when that was the one song on that album. That album came out because I liked it when it came out again, but I skipped it. It's a long, lumbering piece of shit. And but then they play it live. It's the one song from that album that they consistently play live. And I don't. Is it the Braveheart thing or whatever? No, that was the Klansman, wasn't it? But they linked it in with something else, and it just was. It's too long. It's boring.
It's very, very boring. It's like your Blood Brothers. Okay, fine. Yeah. Please go back to my history lessons in the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Mate, I'm going to have to wrap things up. I love talking to you, though. Look, whenever you want to have a chat, just please reach out, particularly with the new material. Just talking metal in general, man. If ever you just want to talk the shit, man, and you want people out there to listen to two blokes talking about their love of metal, man, just hit me up.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, if people want to listen about two people talking about metal, I mean, they must do because people listen to all kinds of shit these days. So, having like people shoot the shit is probably not a bad idea. So, I'd love to do it again.
Fantastic, brother. Thanks very much again. I really appreciate the opportunity to catch up with you. It's been cool.
It's been a blast, man. All right, take care, dude.
Thanks, brother. Have a great one. Have a good evening.
Cheers, metal.
Absolutely. Catch ya. What do you think? Top fella, isn't he? I love it when we can just branch out and just have a good old chinwag about heavy metal, Iron Maiden, all of those topics that have occupied so much of my mental psyche over the past few decades, and that James is such a good bloke to boot. That's a bonus. But we'll see. what other plans we might be able to conjure together in the near future. So there you go, James McIlroy, Cradle of Filth's guitarist from 2004 to about 2012. A great addition to the Chronicles of Filth. Go across to the Cradle of Filth Conversations link on the Scars and Guitars website, where you will also find mini chats, mostly with the pre-2000 members of the pre-2000 lineup. So of course there's the big one, Stuart Anstis, but there's the Ryan brothers, Greg Moffat, Nick Barker, Paul Allender. You've got some Waz Sargentson, Nigel Wingrove, the art director, and photographer Chris Bell, and Mike Exeter too, the famous mixing engineer. It's all there, and hopefully in the near future, or sometime, anyway, whenever it happens, Les and Sarah will appear on the show. All right. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it's a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very, very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.